meeting you here with this idea of curiosity and patience, we're getting really close to opening up a very big healing field. I can tell you that right now. Curiosity and patience. Take notes, listeners, because if you put curiosity and patience together, you can be anywhere and find magnificent connections to the field, the healing that you're seeking.
Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless. I'm Lauren Walker.
And I'm Blaine Wilkes. This is Energy Works, your portal into the incredible world of energy medicine. Whether you're a seasoned energy practitioner seeking to deepen your knowledge or someone new to the concept of energy medicine, this podcast was created for you. Together, we unravel the intricate threads of energy that weave through our lives, revealing practical insights, stories, and actionable tools you can start using right away.
Join us on this captivating journey through the world of energy right here and learn how energy works. Hi, everybody. Lauren here with another episode of Cool People, Big Ideas. And we have a surprise guest today. I'm really excited that one of my best friends in the whole world, Hilary McCann Crowley, you may know her as the author of the award-winning book, The Power of Energy Medicine. She and I teach together usually once a year in New England. And we were best friends when we were little, and then we both went to different high schools. And so we kind of fell apart from each other the way you used to do before everything was on social media. And we lost touch for years and decades even, and came back together as friends. And it was like we had not missed a beat. It was incredible. And what was so incredible is that we are in the same very niche field of our life's work. I am the creator of energy medicine yoga. Her book is called The Power of Energy Medicine. How is that? That's so strange and bizarre. We were like cut from the same cloth and then separated and then brought back together again. And so on this episode, we're going to talk about what is that field and how can we tap into it more. I think you're going to really like it. We have so much fun together, giggling and laughing and sharing really big ideas. So sit back, relax, and check it out. Hi, everybody. It's just impossible for me to keep a straight face right now because I'm on here with my literal best friend in the world, Hilary McCann Crowley. And you all know her as the best-selling author of The Power of Energy Medicine. And you're going to get to know her a little bit more like I do over this next chunk of time. Hilary, thanks for being here.
Oh, Lauren, thanks for having me. I always love catching up with you, and this is a real honor to deep dive with you today.
It's so great. And I really appreciate you coming on because, you know, I've wanted to have you on this podcast for a while, but not the way this kind of unfolded, even though I'm super excited that this is unfolding the way it is. But just for you all, to bring you all listeners in behind the scenes. So I had another podcast lined up and we had some technical issues and we needed to fill a slot. And I thought, who do I want to have on? Well, it's been Hilary for a while. And since she's my best friend, she's on speed dial. I gave her a quick call and she picked up the phone and said,
"Are your ears ringing?" I think I said, "Are your ears ringing?" Because I was listening to an interview that you and I did when your book, Energy to Heal, came out. And you had asked me to speak at Warwick's. We were, I think, pretty mid-COVID era. and they were, polishing up their abilities to do online author events, right? And they had this great idea, or you had a great idea of like, rather than making the booksellers always have to interview the author, let's make it a little bit more vibrant, more buoyant, and easier for everybody. And so you invited me to interview you. Okay. So that's why I was watching. That's why it existed. That's why the interview with Warwick's existed when you called me. And I was like, wow, I forgot I had done that. That was cool. What were we talking about? But the reason I was having the conversation with Warwick's is because my husband was traveling randomly at a prep school where he does videos and promotional work out in La Jolla. And he went into quite a bit of depth about there being a very old and wonderful independent bookseller there, and I need to come out there and I need to speak there. Like, he's really like cheering for me to come out, and he's like, it's you won't believe it. It's very famous, but you won't believe it. So then he sends me the photo, and it's Warwick's, and I'm like, what? Wait, Warwick's? Is that the Warwick's Lauren and I were? Boom, boom, boom. I check my emails. I'm talking to the marketing people at Warwick's 2 years ago. I hit the button and I'm listening to you talk, and then I heard. Then your phone call came in almost to the point where it was like a glitch in the mainframe, to use like a Matrix term. I was like, wait, am I already talking to Lauren? Like, I'm watching myself. How's Lauren calling me while I'm still talking to her? And then I was like, oh, that's a phone call in real time. Hey, Lauren, are your ears ringing? And then we could have had any conversation under the sun. We could have talked about our puppies. We could have talked about, what we're going to, recipes or whatever. And you were actually calling about doing an interview. So the format was just call it manifested or coincidental or synchronistic. I like synchronistic. But definitely we immediately landed at like, oh, that's got to expect that because we're aware of the energy fields. Happens all the time for everybody. We just happen to notice it better.
It happens all the time for everybody. And we just happen to notice it better. And so part of the work that you and I both do is helping other people to notice it and to interact with it, because everything happens in the field before it happens in manifest form. So I love that. I mean, that story is just so typical of how you and I connect and relate to each other over years, including the way that we refound our friendship after decades apart was very fieldy, as you just coined a new word. And so I want to break down for people who may not be in the pocket that we live in. What is the field? What do you think of? What do you mean when you say that's really fieldy, or like, wow, like what just happened, that story that you told that we're in the field together? What do you mean by that? What is the field? As if I've never heard of it and I don't know what you're talking about.
So for me, the field is best described from a heart recognition. Like, I could get, and I will get very literal and articulate about it. But for everybody listening, we know we're in the field when things are synchronistic and they line up for us. I loosely use the term entangled universe, where so many more things are being divinely ordered than we could ever imagine. I find the question more to be, how do you get into the field? Because understanding the field and being able to articulate the field kind of like dissects the field. And then just like a frog in a biology class, you can dissect it, but you also might kill it in the process, or kill the magic of it.
I love that. Can I just jump in for a second? Because, one of the people that I learn and study field theory with the most is Rupert Sheldrake. And he really talked about when he started his career as a biologist, just exactly that. Like you get into biology because you're in love with the world around you, and then you're literally destroying it to try to understand it. And he wanted to understand the world in wholeness, not by parts and pieces, which is still part of the old mechanistic way of interpreting everything, and not really an adequate way to interpret field and quantum entanglement and all of that you're talking about. It doesn't work in a mechanistic world. So I had to jump in and say that, because that's really true. You can't really mechanistically talk about something that is in its definition whole.
Yes. And it was actually a chapter. It was going to be one of the introduction chapters in my book. And it was going to be a story about my brother, Hunter, who's a very good writer. And he got in trouble in his English class because he was a good writer. He was a good analysis of writing. And he went on to become a very good artist. He's an artist. He's a great storyteller in his own right now. But being like a punk rock, anarchy, wore the anarchy t-shirt, sitting in English class. The teacher knew he had good props around reading and writing. And he said, why won't you tell us a little bit more about what you think about the Grapes of Wrath? And he said, and he's like, well, I could tell you about it, but then it would be like the frog. And the guy's like, what do you mean? What do you mean it would be like the frog? He's like, I'd be dissecting it and it would be fascinating and we'd know all about the insides of the frog, but the frog would be dead. I had to say it twice.
Man, Hunter. Okay, that's a whole. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good.
I had to say it twice so we can understand.
Don't dissect the frog.
Don't kill the frog. Don't kill the frog. Let other people who are better at describing the field try to describe the field. I will tell you that one time I was really trying to describe the field, and I dropped into the field because I was thinking, how can I find words for the ineffable? Turns out ineffable is one of my favorite words, ineffable. I do hands-on healing, Lauren. Like I do hands-on healing. Most of my sessions are in silence or in a form of translation. I know you and I teach together, so you see me quite verbal, but like a lot of what I do is quite ineffable. And I'm just glad somebody created that word so I can describe the ineffable. But it's the storytelling and the heart center. And I had an experience in the field that really blew my socks off also recently. Usually we can, if once you drop into the field, you'll see like you had like 16 experiences in the last day or so. And the only way to drop into the field, which I'm sure everybody's wondering, is to just like shift your awareness to a calmer plateau where you're not being pushed and pressured for time. And you definitely pay attention to your self-talk so that you're staying curious and open and kind. So kind of a cool story, Lauren. You don't know this because it just happened to me, but did I say it knocked my socks off? It knocked my socks off. I was running late for a meeting and I have not been to church in a while. Lots of things were going on in my life and I kind of blew off church, but I do belong to the local church in Dover, the Congregational Church. It's got a nice history. Frederick Douglass spoke there when he first came north. Like it's got a really nice history. It's something nice to be affiliated with, right? And I can feel myself, like, can you see my body getting like really red around this? Because I'm feeling it so deeply. Okay, so the first thing I did is that I walked in 5 or 6 minutes late. But 5 or 6 minutes late for the nature of what I thought I was walking into was being no big deal because I thought I was just coming into the back of a huge meeting. Has ever happened to you? You realize you're walking into like an extremely intimate setting, but you thought you're going to just like sneak in, standing room only kind of situation? No. So I walk in and everybody's sitting in a circle or in their own little circles, even worse. And I do the Hilary thing and I just like grab a chair in the corner and then I'm standing there with a chair in my hand. And I'm like, good job, Hill, but where are you going to put the chair? You still need to find a spot for the chair. To which point the new minister at the church, a lovely, gracious woman who I've never met, turned to me and said, patted the seat beside her. And she said, you can sit here. And I was like, oh, thank you. And so now we're whispering. And she looks at me. I'm, hundreds of miles away from the town I grew up in. She looks at me and she says, are you Judy's daughter? And I said, yeah, I am Judy's daughter. And she said, you look just like her. And I'm like, thank you. And then I listened to the rest of the group and I spent the next 45 minutes thinking I'd heard it wrong or I'd answered it wrong or I was living in some like strange alternate universe and I never got out of bed and I was still dreaming. It was very bizarre because my mother is, in fact, her name was Judy and she died 8 years ago. Are you Judy's daughter? So at the end, she turns to me, she said, I'm sorry, I never really properly introduced myself to you, and I never really got your introduction. And I said, I'm sorry, did you actually say to me, are you Judy's daughter, when I walked in the room? She said, yeah, I did. You look just like that woman. She pointed to the woman right across the way. And she said, you look just like that woman. And I said, I do look a bit like her, but also I have a mother named Judy who is no longer with us. She's passed, and I am Judy's daughter. So I told you the truth, but we got a little scrambled. And she said, oh, I lost my mom too. That must have been really hard and interesting for you to hear that. I said, I think it was kind of beautiful, like, I think it was kind of beautiful. And I said again, I was like, and you're not wrong. I do look like this woman, although she looks nothing like my mom. So then I drop into this stuff, Lauren, that we do. And I'm like, how cool was that? Because do you introduce yourself to people when they walk in late to a meeting and say, are you Sally's daughter? Are you, Jason's daughter? Like, no, like, so I felt like strongly that she was like her impulse control was not even in play, because there was some kind of spiritual fun thing that had to happen. Because something turned on in my nervous system that was really beautiful and big. And I knew I was in the field when she said a line that I didn't think I would ever hear again in my life, because it was like in real time. It's a thing you hear, when you're doing life with your mother on this planet. But like, are you Judy's daughter? It was so fresh and real and innocent, and one of many examples of how it happened. But that one hit home, and I actually think she was right on. And, who knows, being a minister, who knows what she was tapping into. So it was cool.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so beautiful because you had walked in, you were feeling awkward. There was a big room. There were all these people. There was one chair left next to her. She was literally the runner of the whole show. And so she brought you in, and then she mothered you in that moment, and allowed you to unfold and to be the flower that you are, instead of hiding back unbloomed because you don't know what to do or who to talk to, or, had you gone into any other group, you might have just sat and listened and not, like you said, had that experience of momness again, and getting to kind of revel in that. I love that. And I do want to talk a little bit about about the frog, because I think we can do it without and keep the frog intact. Because for me, when I think about the field and I think about experiences like the one that you just described and how that affected you, people can say, oh, that was just a coincidence, or it was, she wasn't even right. It wasn't your, because of course I was thinking, did she know your mother? And was she saying that to you in that knowing place? So for me, when I think about the field, I think about the everything, everything that exists, all the information that exists about anything exists somewhere. Now, I've had conversations with Rupert Sheldrake about that. Is there some big filing cabinet, or, people think about the Akashic records. It's like a big book that you open up and, scroll through. And I don't think that it is like that, nor does Rupert think that is how information is held. But I want to kind of break it down a little bit. Information is everything, right? You and I are communicating thousands of miles apart through waves of information. We happen to be, on some parts of our systems here, plugged in, but some parts of our systems are not plugged in. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all of that stuff. So where is that information? It's held in waves in the field, you can call it the air around you, but the air around you extends from you all the way out to the star that's sending you light from 4 billion years ago that you're just registering tonight. So there's a lot of information, and the field is very big, and it's all there all the time. So how do we access it? And what is the point of accessing it? And so, I think parts of the points are to gather information, That's that. I mean, that's like the big tagline and has been for information is power. Information is power, especially when we're talking about information about ourselves. So we want to know as much as we can. That's what the spiritual path is about. It's like uncovering the truth of who you are. Where does that information lie? And what about things that might happen to you in the future? Are those in the field? Yes, they are. And so if we can, like you said, slow down and remove ourselves from the seeming physical reality, because we know that if we break down the physical reality that seems all solid and all that, it all just breaks down into pulses and waves, right? That's all anything is. So everything's the field, everything is information, everything is held within that. And so how do we find the information that we need? And I think synchronicities are, it's like that we resonate, and those two sounds resonate with each other and are drawn towards each other. Okay, now I'm just kind of spinning out a little bit. I want to stop. I want you to dive in and see what you think of my frog.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And thank you for giving me permission. I'm like a little pet frog. I'm going to keep really safe. Okay. We're going to keep the frog very much alive, which is the universe I want to live in, where we don't need to dissect the frog. We can just read the frog's field. I'll stop with the metaphor, but I'm not going to stop with the metaphor, because frogs represent cleansing and renewing. So maybe, there's this beautiful signal that was sent out, 40 years ago or 30 years ago from my brother. And it landed in my field, resonated with me. And I'm still talking about the frog, and maybe frog energy stays here and arrives where it's supposed to be, which is, let's keep this process clean and whole. That's what frogs represent, cleansing. Okay. So you made a point of saying that, information is why we do things. And I'm going to go take it a lot further. I believe that information exists for us to heal. By healing, it means threading together all points. So we're always, there is a point to the field. I'm very, very clear that I have not received all the information until I can feel that I don't even need to report it, but if I'll feel that it lands in a healing space. I like to even break down the words a little bit more and just say, it feels like an aha. It feels like an aha. And it sounds also like a remembering, but here's what remembering means: bringing back together, remembering. To remember, it's the opposite of dismember. So remembering ourselves happily kind of play together. See, it's such.
Did you say ourselves and ourselves?
Happily play together. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to get a clarify, because that's a beautiful sentence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ourselves and ourselves happily play together. There's some accent in the English language that could pull that off a lot better than a Boston accent, like ourselves and ourselves, ourselves and ourselves. I don't think the New Yorkers could do it either.
We're not going to devolve into car talk. We could easily devolve into car talk, but we're not going to do it. We're going to stay focused.
Ourselves and our,
because you were on a good line.
I am on. So ourselves and ourselves. So when I am with a client in the spirit of my intention, which is curiosity and patience, I drop into the field. I'm sure I do it subconsciously, even unconsciously now. I just drop my consciousness right to listening with the heart rather than the mind and the clock and so forth and the pressures. And I allow myself to go into the everything and the nothingness at the same time. I can have nothing and everything at the same time. It requires a tremendous amount of confidence, but I'm never disappointed. And it will always feel like aha. It will feel like this sweet kind of aha energy. So yeah, you're interviewing the part of me that does hands-on healing. There's a lot of us out there. And we're not claiming to be scientists, but we just get an overflow of information. I get an overflow of information. I have an overflow of information today on myself because I didn't even work today. I didn't even see a client today, which is rare. And I'm learning the power of patience. And so the field is just teaching me patience today. It's my self-talk. It's what's going on. I know.
I love it.
I know. I feel like I'm speaking a different language, but I'm trying to bridge over to it.
To what?
I'm trying to bridge over to, that was a good question, Lauren. I'm always trying to bridge over to something that can be articulated, that can be taken away, that can, that can feel, like it's satiated the mind, the mental kosha, like to feel that, because I do think we need to feel into our humanness and our physicality. So to find a physical references for the ineffable.
That's interesting. That went a different way than I thought that was going to go, because I we do have this mental construct that wants to understand things, but you had just gotten off of this the everything and the nothing at the same time. And I started giggling, and I actually wasn't sure I was going to be able to stop. I thought I was going to have a case of the church giggles where they actually you have to leave.
Yeah,
Right? You have
I
to
think
leave
we've
the
had
room.
those before.
And
together.
you and I have definitely had those. And I was like, well, she didn't say anything that funny. You had this big, beautiful smile on, but I was like, why? There's this ineffable, this energy bubbling up from my understanding of the everything and the nothing. And then, so I thought you were, and then you went into a place of wanting to explain that intellectually. And I think that's so interesting, because you were just saying that the work you do, there's no language really for it. And we know that you've had incredible outcomes of healing. I mean, we know in the world there's incredible outcomes of healing, but you have actually, like, this is not like in some, book, or, well, it is now, it's in your book, but, it's not like some idea, or like, I heard that, like, you've helped people heal from cancer. You've helped people come back from death's door. Like, you actually, Hilary McCann Crowley, have actually done that work and been that midwife to help these people in ways that you can't explain with words. And what's so interesting is you were there when I interviewed Sebastian Younger. You helped, put that together with me. And everything that he's talking about is like, I need the proof. I need I need the studies. I need the details. And you and I are both like, but it works. Like, I can't explain it to you, but it works, And so here we are talking about fields and information, and they both have the pathways that they work. I mean, somebody understands how Wi-Fi works, or else it wouldn't exist. Like, I don't understand, but somebody understands how Wi-Fi works. Somebody understands how radio works. Like, people understand how these waves work, right? But then underneath there, they're not even looking at or curious about, like, how does it work when you are tuning the radio, so to speak, on a human body? And instead of saying, like, well, we should figure that out because we know how the radio works, and we know how Wi-Fi works, and we know how your cell phones work, they say, well, it just can't work, Hilary. It's woo-woo. Whatever you do, it's not real. It's just, it's the placebo effect because we don't have the whatever. So I think we should study that in some similar way if we could. Or maybe that's just trying to satisfy that mental kosha that we can just swipe left on and say, well, it works. And if you need to do the studies, you go get the NIH funding and do the studies. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think there's some good people doing those studies. I think that the studies tend to they're very validating and verifying. And yet then you realize, like, you were barking up the wrong tree, because it wasn't what anyone was looking for anyway. Everybody is seeking their own healing, and they're not really looking for validation. We're trying to come back to that the human connection. But it's definitely happening. You can see things with like the, strap things on people's heads, and you can see what part of the brain is firing up, and you can, I think you can, it's questionable if people even love this, but you can like see how the auras file up. Barbara Ann Brennan, in her book Hands of Light, hired an illustrator to take, to make drawings. There's nothing scientific about hiring an illustrator to have the person illustrate what you see, but it's resonates with many of us out there, and it lines up with other historical references to what other people have seen when we look at the energy field. But at the end of the day, everyone is seeking a deep personal connection to their own energy field. So the second that you start to study it in a validating way, that also can kind of kill the frog. Let me put it to you this way. I, including Sebastian, have never met anybody who doesn't deeply understand that they have their own very sacred energy field and their sacred connection to the greater life force. I have met a lot of people. I will tell you a little plot twist here. It is not the people who, let's say, are, I don't know, mafia people, or I'm just going to list off the range of people that I've seen, like people who are multi rich, or doctors or surgeons. It's not, I don't meet up with any skepticism in the work that I do. I don't meet up with skepticism for people who are in a lot of pain. I don't meet up with I do not meet up with skepticism. And I work in a general practice, so I see people from all walks of life. And if I meet them even out and about in the real world, not even them coming to my office, it's funny, but everybody actually wants permission to be able to talk about this. It could be part of my field, that's kind of my thing. That's my field. However, the plot twist is that teenagers, Lauren, they are not having it. It is the best. It's I think it's a sign of like developmental savviness on their way. They're like, I'm in my physical body. What I see is what I get. I have, discretionary thinking, and I am not going there. And I'm like, good for you. You're right on track. I'll see you in like 4 years. Like, but I mean it. Like the teenage brain, which many of us are stuck in, or we think we're still living in, the teenage brain really needs to be grounded in their bodies, and they do not want to have this. They don't have this huge interest in energy healing and, abstract concepts about who or where they are. That can be, teenaging can be like a blip of 6 months, or it can be 10 years. But that's an interesting field to watch. And you can see by my smile, I absolutely love that, because that's what we all carry with us for the rest of our life, which is that need to like be in my body. I don't want to do a dance with being outside my body. I'm a teenager. I'm just coming into my body, and boy, is this fun or interesting or scary, but don't make it more fun. Don't take my fun away, and don't make it more scary. So I think that's why it also, I guess I kind of roll my eyes a little bit, because I'm like, yeah, you guys can talk all you want about like how real you want it to be. But who you reminded me of is like my client who's turning 14 this week. It's just like, like come back when you're 26, and you're ready to, tap back into, the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell calls it the synchronicities, coming through and discovering what your gifts are, and listening to all the collective consciousness coming together.
That's so many fascinating things about that. Okay, I have to dissect. I'm just going to put a pin in this for a second for a later time, but like mafia and billionaires. Okay, we're going to come back to that maybe on another podcast, because if you've been having mafia people on your table, I'd love to know about that. And maybe that's not public information.
That's all you're going to get.
Anyway.
That's all you're going to get. Like, seriously.
That's all I'm going to get.
No,
okay.
And what I
all
want
I
to say
need
is
to
that
get, because
like,
that's dangerous.
Mafia are awesome, soulful people too. Just that was my point. Put a pin in that. There's your pin.
Sure, I absolutely.
There's your pin.
There's my pin. Okay,
and everybody,
fascinating about the.
wait a minute. I got to stay here. Everybody at
Okay.
their essence is love. They just are.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And once you
That's it.
get to that, it's not about roles or inheritance
Yeah.
or inherited roles. You know, it's incredible. It's really, really incredible. So I was speaking lightly, but realistically about how it doesn't matter what your role is. You are a human being unpacking yourself in this beautiful energy that is you. That is your beautiful field. So now you can move on. I couldn't leave that pin halfway in.
No, that's good. That's good. No, and that 100%, I want to add to that too. Before I move on, I want to add to that Donna has shared that before as well. And her daughters have shared that before, that when they were growing up and there were maybe some sketchy characters around, and Donna would do what she does to everybody, is she sees the gold in you. She sees your heart. And that is really actually such a beautiful act of humanity, of generosity of humanity, because a lot of times people that maybe have become sketchy characters have become that because they haven't ever been seen, right? So they to be able to be validated as you are valuable just as you are. I see the heart of you is a beautiful thing. And for us, also to acknowledge that if we have done things that we aren't maybe proud of or things like that underneath everything, we really do all resonate to that same individual but global pulse of heart, of love, of soul.
Well, the field
So
reveals
I'm
it.
glad that
The field reveals it. It's not a characteristic I have or a particular psychological approach I have. It actually, the field reveals it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I like that it's not psychological. Yeah.
No.
Okay. So now we're really far away from that, but I'm going to pull back for a second to the teens. So this is really interesting because all through, the childhood developmental years, a lot of children are really steeped in these other worlds, let's say, that they aren't getting validated for, like the imaginary friends and, the seeing the colors and the lights and all of that. And unless you grow up with parents or caretakers that are from, lineages like you and I are in that encourage that, there's often like, oh, there's nobody there. There isn't really your imaginary friend. That doesn't really exist. And it's okay. You can just use that as a comfort or whatever, but just so you really know there's nobody there. When in fact, there really quite often is somebody there. There is an energy. There is often somebody speaking, an angel, a guide, somebody that is really there. And so that's interesting that they're very steeped in that. And Donna says, if you start to talk to your children when they're little and what are you seeing, what colors are, then they'll be able to keep that and develop that as they grow up. But she hasn't really talked about that when they get the skepticism of the teenage years where they might reject sort of all of that as well. You put away your childish things, and step into your adult role.
Right. Let's add to the list extraterrestrial awareness and past life awareness. And I will tell you, I've seen very supportive families and very supported parents and families, and watched the child coming in and remembering just interesting things. Several people I know can remember their past lives. We're probably going to be seeing more and more of that. That's another thing about the entangled universe, Lauren. I'm not sure it's past life or just like parallel lives or entangled consciousness of the soul. It's just fascinating. Timelines are all different. Really going out there. What I will tell you is that even if you have absolute support, I have still seen the forgetting, like the great forgetting, so that you remember to come into your body, that we can all kind of relate to. But even if it's like cultivated and massaged, it still happens. And I still having watched been doing this for a while and watched kiddos grow up. I don't know if I've communicated this. I kind of love that. I love that they're like very in their body, enjoying this part of being human and this part of being in the field. And then they open back up to expanding their consciousness. But I say to my clients, Lauren, that I have two things that I have bias towards from experience, and it's only grown more. I've only grown more aware of it through the years. And any of my clients that are listening will recognize what I'm about to say. I will say that in the world of life coming in and the world of life leaving, I don't have access. And more importantly, I don't have any agenda to help people if somebody comes in and say their doctor told them. I'm trying not to put up quote marks because it can be very real. Your prognosis is a certain way. I say, even if somebody is on their, meeting me in a hospice setting, I say, I just want to let you know I'm not here to help you die. I'll support you and be present with you from this moment, this moment, this moment. But I just love, I have an energy in my field, and my guides just love the time in the body. And similarly, if people start talking about a relationship, another person, I'll say, I don't really have access to helping you end your relationship either. A, because the other person isn't in the room. And both death and the end of things, of a time, a relationship, and so forth, there are greater forces in charge. So you might as well go back to taking care of yourself and being present right here and right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of being present in the here and in the now, kind of like a teenager. I think I kind of bring a little bit
like a yogi.
Okay. I like that. Bringing it.
Yeah.
To,
I mean, yeah, bringing it to the here and to the now, the present moment. Mm-hmm. I want to share and ask you what you think about this. So for me, when I drop into the field, and I do it a little bit differently than you do, I think probably everybody does, or maybe not. That. Maybe there's 10 ways to get into the field or something. I don't know. Right. But what I do is, it's so simple. It just doesn't even really that. I just focus on the thing that I'm curious about.
Yes.
Like I just put my focus there.
Yes.
And then I just sit with it. Like, what do I need to unpack this project right now. So I just, project A. And then I get a download about what project A should look like and all these. And then if I don't want to kind of burst the excitement I have around it, I'll say to my mind, okay, I don't want to think anymore about project A. I want to just hold that beautiful richness that I just got, and I'll come back to it. And then I want to come back. I'm ready to unpack more. I go back and I'm just like project A, and then and a whole nother, and that's all it is for me. I just put my attention. I literally just say project A, this podcast, what do I want to talk about? And then the download comes. I'm not even asking you for permission. I've gotten permission from that's just how I do it. Have you heard of that before? Is that really kind of in line with the emptying and the fullness?
Well, you had me on curious. Curious is the most magnificent way to access the field. Just to get curious. Just to be that character of curiosity. And so that you're not creating, but you're seeking, looking, receiving, asking and listening, unlearning. That's a big part of being curious. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it does go a bit like that. I can't do the thing you just did, but yeah. I'll just come.
There you go. You just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I did that today because, as I said, my theme is, the theme that's on today is patience. So I keep asking the field, what do I need to know about patience? And then I was like, oh, lo and behold, I'm getting close to being on a conversation with a fellow energy worker. And I wonder if this idea of patience will come flying through. Of course it will. Well, how can I serve the curiosity around patience. I get all the downloads, and the highest level download is to let go of our restrictions around time. That's the highest level download. And then a more deliverable download is to listen with the heart rather than with, the calculated mind. And then meeting you here with this idea of curiosity and patience, we're getting really close to opening up a very big healing field. I can tell you that right now. Curiosity and patience. Take notes, listeners, because if you put curiosity and patience together, you can be anywhere and find magnificent connections to the field, the healing that you're seeking.
That's so beautiful. Dear reader, dear listener, hear this. I love that. And there's this idea, and I've been using this, for those of you that are watching this sort of, like the expansion in the field, and that it's out there, but it's actually within you, as deeply within you as you can go to that 4 billion year old star. You can go that deep into your own infinity and find that. And this is why the practices for thousands of years of meditation and deep inward contemplation is where we find the answers, because we are the field. We are not separate from the field. It's like, again, that yogic tenet of you are the ocean and you are a drop. You are both your unique self and you are part of everything else. And so you are the field and you are also part of the field. You're a thread in the fabric, or whatever kind of metaphor that you want to use. And so all of the information is available. And Hill just shared her way of doing it, of getting into the field. I've shared one of the ways that I get into the field. And I think that the more that you start to just play with that, in meditation, we kind of go to the, I'm not thinking anything, right? That's ostensibly the goal, but that's not even realistic, because that's never going to happen. The brain is never going to not be producing electricity until it stops producing electricity. And that means you killed the frog, right? So until then, the brain is always going to go. And so that end goal of meditation, to still your mind, is not really realistic. And it's more, what are you focusing on? And then you can get beyond that. So I'm going to kind of contradict myself. You can get beyond that, because you just said getting to the everything and nothing, which I think is closer to the samadhi than the focus point, which is one step before that. So, but you've got something to say. I can see it in your, I can read it in your field.
Great. You can read it in the field. And I'm like, oh, she did it. She got there. So someday you and I will have to talk about the work we've done together and how connected we are, if we're actually communicating non-verbally, even across 1,000 miles. You got there. So I actually have a chip on my shoulder about meditation, because I think that it's a little bit too branded, and a little like using the word meditation. I've spoken about it before. I don't know if you know this about me, Lauren, but it's just like, I use it too. I catch myself using it a lot, but it's like everybody meditates. Everybody meditates. Everybody meditates their own way. We meditate on the good and the bad. So it's not a question of meditating. It's a question of what kind of peace and kindness goes on in your mind during your day all the time. I don't think it's any good to meditate for 20 minutes if your thoughts just kind of collapse on themselves on the 22nd minute when you're, back brushing your teeth or whatever. I have another kind of a fun story. It's kind of a fun, friendly story I'd love to share. It has to do with self-awareness on my part, coming through some hard times in realizing the importance of self-talk, how we talk to ourselves, or how we meditate. Like how would I put it this way? Being aware of how you're meditating. Okay. Because one of the ways that we meditate on is how we talk in our head. Now, you can be talking in your head, for instance, about like, this is unfair. That person just cut me off. I'm annoyed by that. One of the ways I get super meditative is right before, I think let me just talk about my mom, since I brought her up earlier, so we can have like a concept of it, and it's fair game. But if I was going to my mother's house, my meditation would be on, I'm going to be late. How am I supposed to be dressed? Like things like I don't even think she cared about, but I had like this subconscious, unconscious. So by the time I said hi to my mom, I was pretty cranky. Okay. Or as they say, I was wicked cranky. Okay. And, and,
Only New Englanders are going to get that. Only New Englanders.
right. I was wicked cranky. So, she, on the other hand, might have been meditating on, oh, I finally get to see her, and I'm going to make this food that I know that she likes because she's a picky eater, which isn't necessarily true either. You know what I mean? Like, well, we'd have our different meditations. So I wanted to use a big example so that everyone who's listening and watching can kind of be like, oh, wait, that's actually meditation too. It's like, yeah, it is. You're meditating on what you're focusing on. Okay. So, there are going to be all sorts of stimulant that you get. And so, as you said, Lauren, trying to stop the stimulus or the data flowing would be unnecessary, and it isn't even productive to do that. But what you can tune into is how you talk to yourself and how you talk through yourself to others. So I had a funny experience. I was sharing a hotel room with a friend of mine. We were traveling in Boston, and we were sharing a hotel room together, and I had several stressors on me, including the fact that she kept the temperature hot and the windows closed, and I wanted it cold. Like it was what it was, but we're otherwise having a pretty good time. And she also, and I say this with great joy and respect, she's also kind of like a smashing dresser. Like she's a smashing dresser, and she really knows how to do her makeup, and her hair looks good. She's just got it down. Like I've always admired that about her. And I, on the other hand, had forgotten my makeup, and we were going out to like get a cocktail or something, just to pretend it's like girls' night out or something. And I'd forgotten my makeup. Okay. So I'm kind of scrambling, pulling off my best look, and I discover my Burt's Bees lip balm. Okay. It's got a little tinge of color in it. And I say this out loud in the hotel room. I go, good job, Hill. Good job, Hill. And my buddy turns to me and she goes, Hill, you do this all the time? I said, do what all the time? She goes, just a lot of good jobs, Hills. Like a lot of good job, Hills. I'm hearing good job, Hill constantly. I was like, I'm going through a hard time in my life. I'm like, and she's like, good job, Hill. That's your go-to. I'm like, yeah, that's my self-talk. You should try it. And she's like, I don't know if I can do that. I said, well, maybe it doesn't work for you. And after that, because it took a good friend to point it out to me, I was like, I do that all the time. Like, good job, Hill. Good job. You're running 10 minutes late for the church meeting. Good job, Hill. Good job. You're doing great. Doing great. You're going to be fine. It actually works, and it's good for my health. And it's definitely, people can tell when I say, hey, good job, Lauren, or, good job, so-and-so, or like, it's okay. You cut me off. That's all right. I mean it. Like, it's all right. And that's built into like a deeper kindness and patience. But I even loved that she was making fun of me. I was like, yeah, that's good. That's fine. Cause I'm really glad. Now I'm going to use this as a teaching story, like 6 years later, right now. It's like, good job,
Hill.
Good job, Hill. Good job, Hill. I was like, I remembered I wasn't like, I forgot everything, because I did. I forgot everything. I was like, I remembered my lip gloss. Good job, Hill.
And that came from a practiced, sustained meditation on your own goodness.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to on anything else, which you could have done, which you could easily have done. And so that emerges.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I do hands-on healing. So I'm in meditation like 6 hours a day. Like today I'm a little antsy because I didn't see anybody today. So, but like, I am doing like I can feel the chakra flow like a warm oil at the bottom of your feet, and like, oh, I'm over the belly button and I can feel, we're just going to clear like a little birth event here. We're just going to like clear this. Like I am in that field. To be fair, I'm in that field for like 6-8 hours a day. But in doing so, I can stay there for a long time because I think it's easier for me to come in and out of that type of field because I'm confident and calm, and my self-talk is not something like, I wonder if they think, I wonder if they think that I'm holding their feet too long or something like that. I can't have time or space for that. Yeah. Just have to trust.
Just have to trust. I love that. I think this is a really good point to pause in our conversation because, of course, Hilary, you and I are never going to stop our conversations. And the fact that you spend 6 or 8 hours in, and you said very specifically in that field.
Yeah.
So that field may be different, but I don't think it is. I think it's just you're deeper into a specific healing field, which is a part of the field as a whole.
100%.
But the fact that you spend and make your livelihood and help people heal their lives in that field, to me, that's all the proof I need that the field is real and that the field is alive and that the field is generative and that the field is informational and that the field is available. And people can get in touch with you if they want to jump into that field with you. And we'll put that in the show notes of how they can get in touch with you. And you and I are just going to keep playing in this field, I hope, forever.
I think it probably is how it goes. We've been doing this forever and we'll keep doing it forever. I'll add to your list, it's loving. It's a very loving field as well. There's a generosity in consciousness beyond understanding, and I love that.
I love that you brought up loving and consciousness. Okay, so we're going to have to do another conversation sometime about consciousness, but the loving piece, that is so perfect, and I want to leave it there because we live in a time where there's so much fear and there's so much discord and there's so much confusion and there's so much sort of scurrying around, and for us to understand above it all, below it all, within it all, and through it all is actually a loving consciousness.
You said it.
And we can sink into that. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yes. 1,000%. However
you said it, Hill. You said it.
I think you said it.
You said it, Hill.
You said it.
Okay, we both said it. It's a mutual appreciation society.
It's in the field. The field said it.
It's in the field. The field said it. Thank you so much, Hill, for jumping out of the field into the computer to be here with me and all of us here on Cool People, Big Ideas. I just love talking with you. I am just so overjoyed of what you've shared with all of us today. So thank you for taking your time.
Thank you, Lauren. It's just a joy to be here. And I like that we coined the word fieldy. I hope that it takes off like wildfire in a good way.
Yeah, I agree. We'll have to keep using it and hashtag it. And this has been a very fieldy conversation.
Very fieldy conversation.
Very fieldy. All right. Love you, Hill.
Love you too.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Alrighty, energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you, so please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates, so light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.